Putting together a research project involves a bunch of steps. This video focuses on the step right here, after you've found the sources you need, but before you start writing your paper. In this step, you read, annotate, and organize your sources. I know, you're crazy busy. I was a student once too, I remember, but hear me out. I'm not actually suggesting you spend extra time on anything. What I am suggesting is a faster, better way of preparing to write a paper. Time spent here pays off by subtracting time from your writing process while simultaneously increasing the quality of your work. By reallocating your efforts, you spend less time working and you get a better final product. Here's how it works. You read and annotate each source in your pile. Then you use what you learn to organize those sources into a structure that'll serve as the backbone of your paper. That way, when you start writing, you'll only have to flesh out an existing structure, and that'll make the writing go quickly. It'll also make your paper look like it was written on purpose, which teachers love. So that's a summary of the process that gets you from a pile of sources to a cohesive research paper. Now let's examine it in a little more depth. Reading and annotation go together, but first let's talk reading. As a concept, it's about as specific as exercise. Walking from the couch to the fridge can be described as exercise, but it's not quite the same as competing in a triathlon. The kind of reading we need here is reading for complete understanding. That means not moving past a section until you grasp it well enough that you could explain it to someone you respect. Sometimes, though, an article just won't make sense. These things are written for professors, and they can be really complicated. It's not your fault, so don't sweat it. But never cite an article that you don't understand. It's like serving as a character reference for a stranger. Bad move. It's 1,000 times easier to write well about something once you really understand it. And yes, reading like this will take time, but it's time subtracted from a miserable future of sitting, staring at your screen, wondering how to fill 10 pages. Here's where annotation comes in. If I sit down and do a lot of reading all at once, it ends up a muddy blob of vague memory. Not useful. Annotation means note-taking, and it helps you dodge that problem. It isn't even complicated. Just write down your thoughts as you go along and mark the important pieces of information. That way, when you go back through what you've read, you'll know what it's about without having to read it all over again. That also makes it easier to see how your sources help answer your research question. Once you've read and annotated your sources, you're ready to plan the order in which you'll refer to them in your paper. They lead from point A, your research question, to point B, your answer or thesis. Here's a sample structure. Start by using some primary sources in the first few pages of your paper to show that your ideas are based on a solid foundation of evidence. After that, bring in secondary sources to demonstrate that there are some experts out there who interpret the evidence in the same way you do. Shows you're not an isolated weirdo. At that point, you might want to show respect for alternative viewpoints, so you bring up a secondary source that disagrees with you and discuss how you handle the objections that source raises. It might seem a bit odd to include sources that disagree with you, but facing dissenting opinions head-on shows your audience, your professor, that you're reasonable and that you've done your homework. Never disregard a source just because it disagrees with your thesis. There you go. Read, annotate, and organize. Not so bad, right? If you have any questions or would like to learn more about this, don't hesitate to visit our help desk or use the Ask Us chat service. It's our job to help you.